This week on the Frankly Nuts podcast.
To date, we have done 10 podcasts.
This is our take on our journey.
This is us stripping it back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankly Nuts podcast, episode 11. So here we are, sitting here, episode 11. We've done 10, and we were about to sit down and discuss how we felt on the first 10 episodes and have a bit of reflection on it, but we said, look, why don't we film it and use it as podcast 11?
Yeah, absolutely. So the layout for this podcast, a bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to ask each other 5 questions. So I haven't seen Joel's 5, he hasn't seen my 5. We're going to go one each at a time, and then we'll review each podcast individually, going through each 10 and giving our thoughts on those podcasts. So I let Joe go up first.
And as Kev said, we don't know each other's questions, and we've really just decided to strip it back. No fancy set, nothing like that, just us, our sign, our mics. So Kev, from the first 10 podcasts, what was your favourite moment?
The favourite
moment, now we'll say moment, not podcast. So if there was a specific moment that you had that you enjoyed or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. My favourite moment, I think it would have been when we did the bucket list.
Yeah?
I think when we did the bucket list, for me, that was us getting out there ourselves, getting our personalities, getting what we want to do, and really letting people that watch the podcast see us and get to know us.
Kind of our interests and things like that.
Exactly, rather than us kind of talking to guests every week and, you know, maybe people like are just thinking of us as interviewers as such and not personalities. So that was probably my favourite moment.
Cool, yeah.
What's been your high of the podcast so far, and what would you consider a low?
Ooh.
So that's my first one for you.
That's a tough question, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks for dropping me in the shit or straight away.
First question.
So for me, I would say a high. Like I don't know really. Was there any major high? Just that, like, I would look at the thing as a whole. I would look at it as just a really cool experience, and I kind of see it as it's almost like you're getting a bit of an education as you go along. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're learning. From
you're kind of learning a thing from each person. Like, so, do you know, whether it be, do you know, one person's a nice guy and got a great attitude to life, and you're kind of taking a bit of that with you each time, I think. And it's really just like a bit of an education, really learning from everybody. So I would just say that's kind of it's not one particular high, but it's a positive. I'd say for a low, like, obviously having these guests and stuff that we have had, you know, they're very busy people out there in the world, they're doing big things, so they're very busy people, as I just said, they're very busy people, and it's kind of hard when a lot of them obviously we met for the first time. I think it's kind of hard when you meet them for the first time, and obviously we're trying to have a lot of banter and be loose and lively with them. It's hard to break that mold straight away, get that comfortable with the person straight away. So I would say that's just kind of a small downer on it, that, like, you know, we'd 1 or 2 podcasts where we met the guest the day before, and when you meet them the next day, it feels like you know them and you're ready to go, and, you know, you can kind of suss them out, like, so I think that's just a kind of a dampener, like, you know.
Good answer.
So that'd be my high and low, or positive and negative, I would see it more as. So if you could give me 3 words to describe the journey that we've had so far.
Oh, Jesus.
Just three words. Just three singular words.
Singular words.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I would say great life experience.
Oh, I like the way you tied them in. I was not expecting that. I was expecting something like fun, interesting, and I don't know, but great life experience. Love it.
That's what I'd say. I think even what you said there earlier about how each guest brings something different to the table. So be it from episode 1 to episode 10, we've learned something, not just from everybody else, but even when we do a podcast on our own, we're learning new things. Yeah. And I think learning these qualities is only going to be good for us going forward. So
love it.
I would
Hit
say
me with
that.
Question number 2, buddy.
Question number 2 for you would be, looking back at our performance, be it the set, be it anything, if there's any one thing you could change, what would it be?
Expressing ourselves a small bit more. So, like, there's been plenty of podcasts there where we've just asked a question and it's just, you know, we've got a response, and I just don't think there was enough back and forth from us
absolutely,
as a duo, or even myself individually, that, you know, we'd ask a question, then just you get the answer back, and you're kind of focused on the next question rather than maybe engaging in that topic or that conversation. So if there was something I would do differently, or one thing I would change, that would be it, I would say.
That's a great answer.
And would you believe you've taking that question right off my tongue. If there was one thing you could do differently, what would it be?
There's one thing I could do differently is, like, I suppose each podcast we do with a guest, we do prepare for it, and in our heads we know what we're going to ask. I'd love to get to a stage where
It's just
natural.
just rogue.
Yeah, it's just I come in and I learn from them straight off the bat. I don't know their story.
Yeah.
They tell me their story, and you kind of get a live reaction from me, rather than me knowing what's gone on in their life, what they've done in their career, and then I say it to them, and I know the answer.
It's
that's
almost scripted like that. You'd rather just have a normal conversation, like, and that's the real angle that we do want to go for, like. So I love that. And I was the same. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you.
Your favorite podcast to date?
You must have read my questions, because that's the next one for you. That's a great. We've done a few that I've really loved, like, come away from and really loved. You know,
you've really taken something from it. But I'm only going to take one answer. I don't want.
Okay. Obviously, the first one is always cool because it's such an unknown, like, and we had big first guests with Seani and Kev. I'd probably say either number 2 with Dan Sweeney or the one we did with Jason Woodard. But again, I think that almost ties back to being comfortable with the guests, because we met and knew both of those guys before we did those podcasts, so it was a lot easier, like, you know. So
I get you.
I would say I'd probably go for the Dan Sweeney one, because I just love the mindset and I love the positivity and the fun. I love it. I just love their whole ethos, like, you know. So that's probably the one I'd go for. And obviously, look, as I said, you took it out of my mouth. But what would you think yourself? First favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast. So I've liked every podcast. I haven't come away from it or whatever. But if I was to choose one that I really enjoyed, I'd probably say the first one, just because, like, that was the first time we've sat down and we've actually tried it. Yeah. And
I suppose it was all the plans that we'd put into place for months, and it's finally come to fruition. Like, and to start with a 2 great first guests, like,
and they were just absolutely, like, you know,
gents,
when they came in, I was so nervous because I knew they'd moved to Preston. They're professional footballers. What are they going to think it is?
That, like, they might have an air or grace about them, but they didn't have any of it, like, so.
And they might even think, like, jeez, what, like, a podcast, what's going on here? Like, like, this could be an absolute flop. But they came in, they did it, they were gents about it. Yeah. And I just think that really settled me and my nerves for this venture, like, so I would say number 1 with Seani and Kev. Okay, so we're 10 podcasts in now. Yeah. This is the 11th. So how would you assess how it's all turned out as a business? So would you say
Jesus.
Would you say so far that this has been a success, or would you say there's still a lot of room to grow for this? Or what are your thoughts on it?
It's a great question, and I do have some thoughts on it.
Oh, so, I like it.
Wow. I was very cocky starting out.
Yeah.
Thinking that Seani Kev, like, this is gonna explode, like, from the start.
Yeah.
Like,
we were expecting thousands upon thousands.
You know, obviously we've gone into it, we've had no experience with interviewing, or I wouldn't even call it, I hate the word interview, but just you know, hosting podcasts or anything and social media. You know, we just both had an idea of it from ourselves, just as fucking 2 millennials, I suppose, like anyone else. But I think that we've learned as we've gone on. We've learned a lot about, like, social media and things like that. That it can be tough and things like that, and it's a slow burner. Like, I think one thing, if you ever listen to any vloggers, bloggers, influencers, people who've done podcasts, people who've built social media profiles, like YouTube channels, things like that, they all say, like, it takes time. And like, all these people who are big now, like big YouTubers or anything like that, like, they've been at it for like 8 or 9 years, like, you know, they might only be prominent with the last 2 or 3. So it does take time, and I'm very impatient. So
he is, guys.
Yeah, like, I would have, for me, satisfied but not happy. Like,
there's always room to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we feel we have done good, but there is so much more to come. Like,
but I love that question. So my final question for you: what's your goal with the podcast moving forward?
Moving forward, the goal for me would be to, obviously, once we finish up in college, we finish this year, I would like to take a year, just go at it, see what can come of it. If this is something that can become a full-time job and that, you can make a comfortable living, or we can be, satisfied doing this. Absolutely, that would be my goal, like, with this. But yeah, that's what I would say.
I like it. Yeah, it's ambitious and sure.
We'll see where it goes.
We love ambition.
Yeah. I suppose my
final
last
one for me.
Yeah, the final one for you would be one life lesson that you could take from this experience going forward in your own life.
Fuck.
Mine are very like deep and meaningful, and
yeah, I'd go with probably what we've stressed before, like that. I actually think like doing this is putting yourself out there a bit, I think, and it's outside of your comfort zone, like,
absolutely,
big time. So, obviously a big issue is people, worrying about what other people would think, like, and that was an issue for me even in doing this.
Yeah.
But, like,
it's almost
just going for it.
Culture,
I think going for it, you take a bit of confidence from doing it, from putting yourself out there, and I think you'd be more inclined to put yourself out there again, whatever it be in life. So yeah, I think just stepping outside your comfort zone and being comfortable in the uncomfortable. That's probably the life lesson I take from it.
I like it.
Philosophy.
Philosophy. You go. There's our 5 questions.
Love
each.
it. Right, so bud.
So let's get to reviewing our first 10 podcasts.
Yeah, this is pure rogue for me, but go on.
Oh, same. Look, I've literally phones away now. I've no notes.
Yeah.
So number 1, we had Seani Maguire and Kevin O'Connor, so formerly of Cork City, and now of course
Cork
of
City,
Preston North End.
Yeah.
So they were our first one in, was it July? July that came out?
The end of July. Yeah. I think it was
July,
like the third week in July.
They've
Yeah, it
obviously
was.
just moved over to Preston.
Yeah, I suppose you spoke about it there a minute ago, and I'd share a lot of the same thoughts. Like, it was cool. It was nice and short actually to start us off.
Yeah,
which I liked.
nice 20-minute clip.
Short,
like
yeah.
that.
And I suppose like we would have watched a lot of podcasts and thought like 2-3 hours, like that ours could be like an hour or an hour and a half every podcast. But then we actually did this one, and it was 21 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that it was so short, but we still got a decent amount of things covered, that we kind of realised, you don't have to have a 2 or 3 hour podcast, and obviously not everyone has 2 or 3 hours.
No, not at all.
To be listening to it. So it was short and it was banterful. I loved just how banterful the boys were.
Yeah, it was just, it was a laugh all around.
They really embraced it, and they wished us well and stuff, like, so.
Exactly.
That was a big kind of.
And it was just how nervous we were beforehand, like.
Yeah. But like they settled, like we were bricking it alright, and this was
massive for us. Like.
Yeah. But it was cool to kind of have 2 lads who were our own age as well, just to start off, I think, So
it's relatable with them, like.
Yeah. Any more thoughts on that?
I suppose my thoughts would have been going into it like, this is something we'd been working on, and I was just so fearful of us putting it out there, and like everyone just saying, Jesus Christ, would you look at these 2 fucking idiots, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then for it to have almost been shut down after 1 episode, I was like, imagine pumping all this time into something and it just not working out. So I was just kind of very mindful of that leading up to it. But I suppose the minute we did it, that was it. It just, like the minute we that button stopped on the camera and we'd finished the car, I was like, I love this. Like, I would have recorded another 3 in that day. I just had such adrenaline going home after it. So that was my thoughts after the first. I was just like, where's episode 2? Like, when is it? Who are we doing? And I suppose episode 2 wasn't long coming. Like, it was
we followed up with Dan Sweeney.
Shout out, Dan.
As I said there, that was probably my favourite one. As you just said there now, that you would have loved to have done another one straight after the Shawnee one. That's exactly how I felt after the one with Dan. And yeah, that one was a bit longer, but there was plenty of stuff to cover. And look, I've spoken on it there already. Like, I just love the ethos of that. Like, just, live life and, be happy and don't care what other people think you like. So I just loved all that. Like, and looking back on that actual podcast, the very first, I think it could have been the first thing I asked him. If you actually look back at the very last word or 2,
I know what's coming.
I was so nervous, and the last 2 words.
And I don't even know why, because we actually had chatted to Dan for maybe 10-15 minutes before the podcast for about a half an hour the day before, so we were actually very comfortable with him.
We were,
But it's just like the feeling you get.
It's just getting it off the ground. It's like once you flick on the camera at all, it's very strange. Like,
it's just weird.
You feel like the world is watching. Like, as soon as you flick the camera on, like.
But it's almost, we turn to each other and we're like, yeah, you set, you ready?
Yeah.
And then you start recording and you're like,
Yeah.
You know, you're
okay.
almost like, geez, yeah.
What
very
I
good
say
one.
here now, and
Yeah.
and then I just got to the end. So yeah, but yeah, no, that was definitely my favorite podcast.
Very good one, yeah. Dan had just like some great. There's actually some great quotes from that one if you go back and look on it. From Dan.
I love that we're plugging. Go back,
Yeah.
get the viewership up.
Yeah,
But,
Jesus. Even if you just watch it for 30 seconds, guys, just get that view up.
Yeah,
But yeah,
So-
Dan was definitely a really good. It was a great one to follow up the lads with
twice. Yeah,
because
yeah.
it almost again like just gave you that buzz for it, gave you that like drive to go on.
Yeah, I
And-
think it's even the way you say it's a great one as well. Like the lads, you know, obviously they're big professional footballers, like, you know, but we're obviously starting out in Cork. Like, you're not going to have that caliber of guest
Yeah,
every week.
you're not
Like,
gonna get Roy
not
Keane,
saying that
yeah.
Dan's not the same level as the boys, but like it was just great to see then a kind of a fella,
A
you know, kind of a
local guy,
local
like,
businessman doing well, kind of a thing. So yeah, I think
like you can nearly class the two lads as almost celebrities now. Like, you know, they're over in
You
England,
could,
they're
I suppose,
professional
yeah.
footballers.
Yeah.
Whereas Dan is just a local guy who's done well, created a business, he's making a living from it. So you
Fair
just
play.
applaud him for that. Episode 3 followed then with Nathan Adams.
Yeah.
So local model, local entrepreneur, owns his own agency. That one for us again was a very different one because we always like to get a guest from a different background on every single week. We had footballers, we had a gym owner, and then we got a local model. So like again, we don't know a lot about modelling. Look at us, we're not two models either. Like we're not.
Hey, speak for yourself, pal.
We're at the.
Hang on, nice sign the dotted line there. Runaway models, kid.
So
yourself,
that
bud.
followed up, and I think Nathan's one was actually really good as well. It
Was.
him coming out and
We're
speaking
just
about
gonna
his.
say everyone was good.
Yeah, even if we hated him. But him coming on to talk about his like journey and coming out and how it was, I think was really important because obviously there is that stigma on coming out, on mental health, and anything related to that in Cork, in Ireland alone.
Yeah.
So for him to come on and give his thoughts about that, I thought it was really inspiring. Like, but a
I
lot
agree
of people,
wholeheartedly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so, you know, it was
I
just
agree.
fair play to him.
Like, because he's a young man, like, and his story, he came out with his story at a young age, like, and is very brave, and he even got a lot of messages since in the intervening days after saying that, you know, he was an inspiration to them, and I assume helped those people in some way. So, you know, what can you say more about that? That's just magic, like, really, isn't
Exactly,
it?
and
So-
again, that one was nice. It was 20 minutes or so. It was engaging for people to watch.
Yeah.
Hopefully you watch it. If not, go check it out.
yeah.
It's in our playlist on our channel.
Moving on from that, then episode 4, we did a fan Q&A when we had about 20
Q&A.
followers.
We don't
So
even have fans.
We had a fan Q&A, we called it, with 20 followers. What you make of it?
Losers. I think that one for me, the bucket list was my favourite of us ourselves, but the fan Q&A was
We'll
a
get to
good
that
one as
one.
well because spoiler. The fan Q&A was a good one for us to just again get our personalities out there because I feel for the first 3, if you actually go back and watch them, there's actually not a lot of back and forth from us. It's us asking a question, them responding, and us going, yeah, very good. And then just moving on and asking the next question.
Yeah.
Whereas we wanted to sit down there and get our personalities across to those that were watching. Like, we're not just two yes men sitting in a chair just nodding. Like idiots.
Obviously, you know, we are targeting these guests and we want to get their stories
Yeah.
out there, but it's just find the right balance, really, isn't it?
It
Like
is.
the-
You want to
we gotta-
engage with
yeah,
their story instead
exactly.
of just, you know, sitting there like.
You know, we feel we could do better and strive to do better, like, all the time.
What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it.
I think it was the first time we were both actually very like
Confident and
yeah.
comfortable, yeah.
So
And
we just
it's-
kind of sat there and we just.
It's easy just to answer questions as well, like,
Yeah,
you know, and give your
sure.
opinion. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Like, it was like an hour and 9, but geez, we must have spoken for an hour and 45. Like, the amount of editing that was involved in that one was big, and we'd edit out 10-minute sections and everything. It was big. And then episode 5, we went back to back, did another one on our own.
Yeah.
The
brave.
bucket list.
Very brave
30
of
things
us.
we want to do before we are 30 years of age. I have 7 years to get there. He's only 5 years to get there. Oh, God bless him. But no, it's actually the other way around. And
Yeah.
Kev caught me with that joke on the day.
And it actually surprised him if you go back and look at it. He was actually shocked. We actually did one. It was actually a blooper. You can go back and watch that one. He was shocked when I asked it. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then
Cut
if
me
you
in the
look-
half.
If you look at when we actually started it then, he was just like, oh yeah, very good. Moving on. He just wanted to get away
I didn't want to
from it.
dwell on it, like.
So
So yeah.
I think that was the first one that I thought, like, I loved it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, holy shit, like, this was brilliant.
Mm.
Because I just thought, again, it's us getting out there. People are looking at that and they're saying, geez, what do lads want to do?
Yeah. What do they want to do?
Yeah.
It's really relatable content.
Exactly.
Really relatable, I think.
And I think we got a lot of positive feedback on that
Yeah,
one,
that went down
and
very well.
I think that just pleased me the most. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I just thought it was interesting, like, you know, obviously we did 15 things each, and I kind of thought with my 15 going in, I was like, yeah, these are kind of, you know, these would be my set 15 ever if I was to do them, but then I kind of heard a few of yours, and, you know, I just think when you hear one or two, it's like, oh, why didn't I put that in? Do you know what I mean? You think, why didn't I put that in? That you would have them. So it was interesting to hear yours and hear mine, and, you know, I really enjoyed that one anyway.
Yeah, that was, and again, what was that? Half an hour, was it? They are between 20 minutes and 30 minutes, a lot of them
About
averaging.
30 minutes,
so
yeah, about 30.
Good English accent.
Hey. About 30
Moving
minutes,
on,
pal.
episode number 6 then, so we
Number
went
six.
back to we went back to a guest. Jeez.
Episode 6, let me think. Who did we have?
I've been so
No
bad.
offense. No offense.
No offense, who was it?
Um,
Holy shit.
Episode
Was
6.
it Woodard?
Episode 6 was the live stream. Yeah, episode 6 was the live stream. So we actually want to speak on this for a second.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So it was the McGregor Mayweather fight.
Yeah.
And we were doing a live stream, live watch along, right?
Okay. This is,
And
gonna be, this is where it gets real.
just like, yeah, so we filmed it, whatever, and we put it on us, and we were doing Facebook Live first, and we actually left the volume on, watching the
telly.
TV in the background, so the broadcast picked it up, and it actually got struck for copyright on Facebook Live, so then we got
2
shipped
minutes.
over to YouTube Live, couldn't post on Facebook to tell people that, to tell people that we'd gone to YouTube, so then it was tough to get people there, and
So we had 10 viewers.
it was 6 in the morning, probably not, barely 5 in the morning, and we were just
We were
zonked.
drained, yeah.
I could barely keep my eyes up. It just, look, realistically, it didn't work.
No,
at
that
all.
was, if I was to ever say
Yeah.
we had a fail of a podcast,
Yeah,
I would
a
say it
big
was that
fail,
one.
Yeah,
And I,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Like, I woke up the next morning and I was like, I wish we could just bin it right now. Do you know
I
what I'm
wish we had a
saying,
backup podcast
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
could have just
yeah,
pumped out
yeah.
and said, here we go, guys.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But like, even the energy, I actually kind of,
It was
leading
tough.
up to it.
Even the fight, I was like, and I was, for the months leading up, I was so passionate for McGregor,
Yeah.
everything, bought the McGregor t-shirt, everything.
didn't come, by the way.
Didn't come until the Monday, but sure. But yeah, I just couldn't even if he knocked. Let's say the camera wasn't on. If he knocked him down, I don't think I would have had the energy. I was just absolutely
you were
out my
just
feet, like
zonked, like.
just struggling to even talk.
But I was just thinking, like, what do people want to, like, I was so excited leading up to it, thinking this is going to be such a, like, people will watch this,
Yeah.
like, and then the minute I had the mic in my hand when I was watching the fight,
Yeah.
I almost felt like I was commentating.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
What the hell did I say? I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, my mind's going
Like, you know,
blank
people
here.
watch the broadcast, see the commentating.
Yeah, and I just, if you look, I keep just saying, good job.
Yeah.
Good job. I'm just like, oh, this is cringe.
But,
So I just wanted to get that one out of the way.
We've
and-
learned from it though, and like we actually
Definitely.
plan on doing more live watch-alongs for like football and maybe events like things like that.
Exclusives here for you.
Exclusives, yeah. So I think we kind of invite maybe a couple of lads around soccer Saturday,
yeah.
soccer Sunday, watch it with the lads, kind of a thing.
Yeah, just chill out
And,
and be as natural as possible.
We'll turn the volume off this time so we don't get caught for some copyright. Yeah. So
then we had episode
episode
7,
seven,
and that was with
Jason Woodard.
Woodard,
yeah,
the king of donuts in Cork City,
yeah,
Mr. Woodard, and that was a very good chat.
very
it was
good
actually
chat.
very nice of him
Yeah.
to bring 2 6-boxes in for us. We had a 6-box each of donuts.
Fed the family for
Yeah.
a week. Beautiful.
Actually ate them on the podcast. But yeah, that was a great one because we got to learn how he built this empire and how he started this trend in Cork City with the donut shop.
Yeah.
It's actually very interesting. He's a go-getter.
He is.
And I actually kind of drew from him listening to that. I thought, geez, you need to think like that mentally going forward. So I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah, JC was a bit of a fanboy, yeah.
Coming from Dan's dick boy over
Oh,
here,
Jesus. Dick boy.
we might
Yeah,
have to censor
I
that.
agree with you.
Apologies.
The story is unreal. Like, do you know, people might say whatever, donuts are a trend, or like,
They have their own
so
opinion,
what?
yeah.
Like, they own a donut shop. Like, do you know, it's a donut shop. Like, to be fair, like, I look at it as the story. I think he was the first guy to bring the donut craze to Cork.
Yeah.
First shop in Cork, and now I think he said there's something like 8 in the county, and that was like 10 months ago. Like, so like, you know, fair play. On that one again, 45 minutes. We must have spoke for 40 minutes after the podcast. You know, we should have left the cameras rolling.
Yeah, oh.
But yeah, brilliant, and really just a good guy, like a go-getter, and very funny as well. Very funny.
Very funny guy,
I
yeah.
thought he was funny.
He might come across like kind of serious. He always says himself he has a bit of a resting bitch face.
He
says
said
in his
he's
vlogs.
told that, yeah.
But like,
very funny. And
when you actually sit down with him and chat to him, he's actually the complete opposite.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he's actually
yeah.
very funny.
very good.
But I'm going to stop now before I get any more.
Yeah.
hassle off Joe.
Jason, we got a fanboy. So after Jason, then we had Jenny.
Yeah.
Jenny's Munch, episode 8, and a couple of cool bits from that one. What I found really interesting with that was the fact that, like, obviously she started out in college. She kind of went into this influencing role through a bit of food and fitness, found herself as an influencer, and that she doesn't want to be one anymore. And I just think that's so interesting that she's in a space now where she has, you know, her thousands of followers, and that she was an influencer really, and now that she doesn't want to be one anymore, that her passion is marketing and she's going after her passion, when everybody these days, every second person wants to be a blogger or Snapchat or YouTuber, you know what I mean? Like, there's two boys here. So I just found that so interesting.
Yeah, it was a good
Like,
story. Like, it's
that, like, her passion was marketing, and she was going for her passion then, rather than, you know, maybe going down this route where, you know, it might be the easier route, but she's going after her passion. I just found that really interesting. That was a really big taking point from that podcast.
Yeah, very good. I like it.
And you've nothing more to add, no?
I suppose what I took from it again was like you, that she just has such a passion for something, so for her marketing, and as she's following that, as you say, she could have just took the pad of an influencer and took those freebies that you get as an influencer, take that easy route, build her following even more. But she's ditched it, and she actually said at an event that we went to, the Methods of Marketing, that she was actually never paid for anything, that she didn't, you know, she said that, you know. So, like, fair play to her. Like, a lot of these influencers on Instagram do take advantage of it, and they do kind of put it in your face, where she was the complete opposite. So that's my thoughts on that.
That's
podcast.
an interesting thought. Moving on from that,
episode
Paul
99,
Mac special.
Paul Mac from
Paul
Ahio.
Mac special. Ahio, West Cork.
West Cork, why?
Yeah, really sound fella. I think the amount of messages we got from that was frightening. That was probably, I think that was our most well-received podcast of any we've done.
Just such a inspiring story, like, you know, that he was a contractor or whatever, and then he went off and he wanted to follow barbering, and back then, 14 years ago, like, if you went off to be a barber, as he said, you're almost seen as camp, like, or you had to be stereotyped for it. And
I think that the fact that he was, like, kicked out of his first couple of jobs, or he was fired and things like that, like, and told that, you know, it's not for you or whatever, like, and, you know, he's after flipping the script there anyway, for sure. And you just can't beat a story where you flip the script, like, as an underdog. And I think, like, we received such good feedback from that. So many people going, literally just text me saying, like, wow, what a great guy he is, like. Yeah. Literally.
And I think it's probably one of our most commented videos on YouTube as well. We don't get a lot of comments on our videos on YouTube. So if you just want to start leaving a comment, guys, just give us some feedback. Positive or negative.
So I really enjoyed that one as well, to be fair.
He was he even gave us the prize to do as well on Facebook, which he didn't have to do. It was just such a nice thing for him to do.
Plug for Paul Mac special.
Paul Mac, we can get your haircut off him. You get a free glass of Jameson inside.
I was into it there already. So.
Look at that.
So, he's a bit harsh. I made a joke myself, like, you didn't need to bury me. So anyway, then we did Brian Keane Fitness episode 10 last week. What did you think? Give me your thoughts.
I suppose that was a little landmark for us, hitting the 10th episode. What I thought from it was our first ever Skype one. So you probably saw that I'm actually like this in it. I can't get out of shot like that. Yeah. So I was out of shot. I suppose we learned a lot from it, and that going forward we actually can do a lot more Skype interviews now. But what I took from him was, again, he's just very, very inspiring.
Frightening.
His quotes during that, he just has such a positive attitude on life. He's the type of guy that, like, he would just let nothing get to him. Like he's doing that Marathon des Sables. Like,
that's ridiculous.
That sounds torturous.
56 kilometers in 6 days, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first 4 days of marathons, then there was an ultra marathon of like 86 kilometers, like, and then the last day is a few kilometers as well. But like,
you need to be more.
As soon as we finished that podcast, I went and I googled that, and I was like, what? The fuck, like, I was like, this fella, like, I don't want to swear. I was just like, this man, fair play to him. And I liked the way he just said, like, he didn't know if he could do it. And that's just like, you know, then he committed even more. Like he was like,
Yeah.
right, I have to do it now. It's like, Jesus, if that was me, I'd be turning around, I think.
But him even being in secondary school, and as he said, he was not good at school, like academic, just it wasn't for him. And then he completely flipped it and excelled in college. Like he just put the head down and said, geez, I'm actually going to make a go of something here. And he went into teaching and realised that's not the career path for him.
Yeah.
And at 23, to quit such as, like, it's a safe, like, job to have. It's a safe career.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
do you know, and he left it and went for the unknown, and unbelievable. Like I just couldn't believe it. Like it's very,
you're just amazed.
I'm
absolutely amazed. So yeah, I think that's nearly been a reflection on a lot of our guests, and it's probably why they are where they are. Is like a lot of them have gone after their passion, things like that, and I love that shit. I love I love a bit of mindset.
We're two kids just trying to do the same, just trying anyway.
Yeah.
And
Young, ready, ripe, ready to take over this podcast game. So
absolutely ready to take over Cork City.
That was our
that's our journey
take,
so far.
Like,
yeah,
that's our first time talking to each other about
interesting to hear each
individually
other
what
talk.
you think it is or what you think of that. So yeah, interesting. Let us know what you thought of this.
Yeah. Please comment below.
Yeah.
Desperate.
Like, share,
comment, subscribe,
comment, do it all, please.
Yeah.
We need you.
Our social media
You need
handles
us.
are here. Just follow us. Couldn't even get the word out.
Follow us, yeah. So yeah, that was actually enjoyable to
Liked
just
it.
talk to you there now and film it, and
So we'll be
hopefully
back.
enjoy this. Stripped down, just us, our thoughts.
Our little sign. And I suppose we'll see you next week, guys.
See you
Take
next
it
week.
easy.
Kev, look, thanks for coming today. I'd just like to present you here with this little handshake. Little handshake for Gary McCarthy trophies. All right, guys.
Go on. Take it easy.